Today I'm going to show you how to change the oil on the 8th gen Honda Civic. This is for the 2007 Honda Civic SI. This should be similar to all other 2006 to 2011 Civic SIs. The tools you're going to need are, you're going to need first the jack and the jack stands. You're going to need also something to chop the wheels from the car so it doesn't roll back. Next thing you're going to need is to take a tool to take off the wheels. So I got the lug nuts are 19 millimeters, so take off the wheel lugs. And to take off the drain plug, you're going to need a 17 millimeter. And of course you're going to need the oil filter, the washer, and the oil. Optional is going to be the aluminum foil. I'll show you what the aluminum foil is for near the end. The first thing you're going to do is set the car in gear or put it in reverse. Then you're going to chock the back wheels. So we don't want the car rolling just in case you know, it doesn't hold. Now to change the oil, you're gonna have to take off the wheels, and so what we're gonna do first is we're gonna loosen the lug nuts, and then jack up the car, put the jack under it, and then loosen the rest of the lug nuts and take off the wheel. Okay, now that the car is up, make sure it's on jack stands and not just the jack. So you want jack stands to hold the car up. Then we're going to loosen the lug nuts and take off the wheels. So now that the car is safely on jacks there, we're going to drain the oil by taking the drain plug off. So you're going to be under your car. Here, keep on going here. You can read, there's a little arrow right here that says engine oil. So you follow the arrow, and right here, this is going to be the 17 millimeter drain bolt. So I forgot to mention earlier that you're going to need, of course, some sort of catch can, something to catch the used oil. Okay, so now we're just going to let the oil drain for a little bit. Of course, be careful. If you drove it for a while, the oil might be hot. So for me, while the oil is draining from the drain pan, what I do is I want to take off the oil filter. And so what I do is I use the aluminum foil to cover on top of the CV boot here. So when the oil is dripping from the oil filter, it doesn't hit the CV boot because it's rubber. You don't want oil to touch rubber because it'll deteriorate it. So what I normally do is I get a piece of aluminum foil, wrap it on top of the CV boot, and then I take off the oil filter, and then the oil will just drip on top of the aluminum foil and just go straight down to your pan, your oil pan. So here, as you can see, there's my aluminum foil right there. I covered over the CV boot, and then here is the oil filter right there. That's above it. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna loosen it counterclockwise, and you might need a wrench for this. I personally did it myself since the beginning, so I don't really need a wrench to loosen it. I tighten it like I'm not ridiculously tight. So what we're gonna do is just loosen that oil filter, and then the oil is gonna drip down the aluminum foil down to my pan there. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the new oil filter in. So before putting the new oil filter in, you want to at least fill up a little bit of oil into the filter. So normally I do is maybe about like half, and use some of that oil there And then you're just going to rub it around the seal just to make, when you put the oil around the seal, it makes, I guess, a better seal. Then what you're going to do is you're going to just put it back into and spin it back. Don't spin it too tight, because the next time when you try to take it out, you're going to struggle with that. So now putting the filter back in, just make sure there's no gasket, the older one. See if you can see through there, or you might have to just feel your way in. Just make sure there's no older gasket. So when you put this one back in, you might have to feel your way in if you can't see it here. So again, when you tighten it back, make sure it's not too tight. Okay. So now we're gonna put the drain plug back in. Of course, don't forget the washer. Me, I put a new washer in every time I change the oil. You don't necessarily have to, but for me, I just put in a new one just because it's only like 50 cents. So now that we have the drain plug back in and it's tight, the new oil filter in already, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the wheel back onto the car and then lower the car. And then we'll fill up the oil. Okay, so once you've done filling up the oil in there, just make sure to check the level. Once it looks good, here it does. I would recommend just starting it for a little bit or driving around for a little bit and then checking the oil again and add if needed. And you are pretty much done now.